So I was just interested in knowing how many of you were going to join Inspire. And then my second question was thinking about the resumes and the little brief section we did on cover letters. I'm wondering how many of you have already started your Canadian resume. I bet you a lot. And I know our career consultants are going to be really busy reviewing resumes for you. And then finally, yesterday, the Alumni Panel, which was exceptional. They so represent all of you and how engaged our international students are at Fanshawe, and the takeaways that they gave to you around volunteering and getting involved, and part-time work and putting your studies first. That was all very, very important. I see Zaid just raised his hand. Would you like to say something? I don't know if Priyank can unmute you.
We will do that at the end of each session, Sterling. It's okay.
Okay. So you can ask the question later. I'm sorry about that. So today, I wanted to talk to you also about the Fanshawe Promise. And I believe that all of you have received a letter signed by me, welcoming you to Fanshawe and explaining to you how to find your career consultant. If you're in a co-op program, it also explains how to find your co-op consultant, talks a little bit about Leap Junction and our entrepreneurial services. And finally, it also talks about community employment services for any of you that have the opportunity to bring family members here. Community employment services can help with connections in the community for employment for your family members when you arrive or if you've already arrived. Today, you've got a really great, exciting day ahead. And we're starting the day with Christina ×2. Christina Rapson and Christina Lark are two more of our career consultants, and they're going to talk to you today about virtual job searching because that's the way we have to look for work right now. And then we're going to be joined by the London Economic Development Corporation, and they are going to talk to you about the local labor market here in London as well. Sue Bennett, one of our co-op consultants, is going to talk to you about Canadian workplace expectations, which will prepare you for the employer panel. And this is a very, very, very special employer panel. We selected employers based mostly on the programs that you have registered for. So we have startech.com, which is an amazingly huge corporation. It's a global corporation with headquarters here in London, Ontario. We have Scotiabank. So many of you will know Scotiabank. And for those of you that arrived, you probably have done some banking with Scotiabank already. We have Blue Mountain Resorts for those of you that are in hospitality. And they'll talk to you a lot about when the hospitality industry rejuvenates, it's going to be booming. So also Ellis Dodd for civil construction, project management, all of those types of work, that programs that you're involved in. And finally, Precision Deliveries, which is a company that does all the external hiring for huge companies like Walmart, which many of you will probably know. So I think you're going to get a lot of really great information today. I hope that you enjoy your day. And I'm going to turn it over to Christina ×2, Christina Lark and Christina Rapson. And you're in really good hands with these two talented women. And hopefully you'll learn a lot about virtual job searching. So over to you, ladies.
Awesome. Thank you, Darlene. I'm just going to share my screen here for our presentation. Which is finding a job in a virtual world. So a lot of questions that we are getting from students are about, what has changed in job searching in this new world, right? Can we still use the same job search methods that we used to use? And the answer is some of them we can use, some things have changed. So what we really want to do today is kind of show you some of our tips and strategies for this new world and how to job search. So as Darlene mentioned, we are the Christinas. That's what we call ourselves. We're both career services consultants. So I'm Christina Lark. I support the London South Campus programs, School of Information Technology, School of Transportation Technology and Apprenticeship, and also currently Applied Science and Technology. And then Christina Rapson, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christina Rapson, and I am the Career Services Consultant for the Lawrence Kinlan School of Business and the Woodstock Oxford Regional Campus. And I'm looking forward to presenting with Christina today on finding a job in a virtual world.
Awesome. Okay, so of course, for any job search, the first step is just to prepare. And one of our first tips is to give yourself a lot of time. So if you want to use the chat feature, I'm wondering how long on average do you think it takes a student to find a part-time job once they arrive in Canada? So let me know if you have any guesses for that. How long on average do you think it takes a student to find their part-time job? So I see some guesses coming in. Some people are saying maybe 1 to 2 months, 1 month, 1 week, 1 to 2 months, 3 weeks, depends. So lots of really great guesses coming in here. A couple of weeks. Some people saying it depends. Awesome. So all really good insights and really good guesses. So the average is actually 4 to 8 weeks or 1 to 2 months. So those who are guessing 1 to 2 months, that's right about the range to expect. So just be prepared, and that's 1 to 2 months of constant active applying and active job searching. So it does take a bit of work and it does take a bit of time, but all that work that you put in will pay off. We also suggest researching opportunities such as job titles that you may want to apply to or different companies, attending the virtual workshops that we offer in career services. We provide so much information that will really help you. You can also reach out and connect with the career consultant for your program for questions and support. And also think about what are some different job search strategies you can use. A lot of students apply online, but remembering there's other strategies too, like networking, which we're going to talk a bit about today, which is actually more effective. And even going in person to drop off resumes when it's safe to do so. Of course, now we do have a lot of businesses that are on lockdown or closed during COVID, but once things open back up, another option is sometimes going in person. So there's lots of different strategies that you can use as part of your job search.
Great. So another strategy for job search success is, of course, having an effective personal brand. So when developing your personal brand, you really want to reflect on your values, interests, and skills, and make sure you're preparing a resume and cover letter that focuses on what you have to offer the company employer, and clean up your social media presence. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that, but it's really important that your social media channels that you use represent you in a positive manner. So when it comes to personal branding, you really want to market yourself. That is the key to job search success. So you really want to be clear on how you can add value to the company. Define your purpose, goals, passions, values, and prepare your elevator pitch. And I'm just going to ask in the chat, how many of you have prepared an elevator pitch before? Just want to submit simple yes or no. Okay. Seeing a few yeses, but a lot of no's so far. We will be talking about that a little bit more. I was just curious if anyone had heard of that before or if they had one prepared.
Yeah, a few saying, what is it? So.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So it's basically your marketing statement, your pitch. If you met someone influential, or often the answer to that job interview question, tell me about yourself. And we're going to talk about that in a few slides. But you also want to work with social media channels or an online blog to create a positive image and define your personal brand. And you always want to refine your brand and improve your brand by applying any feedback you receive from maybe your peers, other professionals through networking or past employers. So it's continuous and something that you're going to constantly work on. So this is something that you want to be mindful of.
Okay, so virtual networking, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I know a really common question I've gotten since the pandemic started is, can we still network in this virtual world? And if so, how? How do we even network? So the answer to that is yes, we can definitely network in this virtual world. There are lots of ways we can still do that, which we'll share with you today. Firstly, I just want to talk about the importance of networking. And I'm sure you've even heard of this already. Networking is really important in Canada, I think a little bit more so than in other countries. So has anyone heard of this, or are you aware what percentage of jobs are not posted, meaning they are filled through networking or referrals? Does anyone know or want to take a guess on that? So what percentage of jobs are not posted and end up getting filled through referrals here in Canada? All right, I'm seeing some guesses. We have 80%, 50%, 30%, 60 to 70. So lots of really great guesses coming in here. A few people are getting the right answer. I'm seeing the right answer a few times in here. So it is 80%, if not more, but 80% is our estimate. So in Canada, 80% of jobs will get filled through referrals and networking instead of online posting. So that's why we talk about networking so much and why it's so important here. So sometimes people will ask, what is networking? What does that really mean? So all networking is trying to connect with people that you know and asking them for referrals or for job leads. So I always suggest start with any people that you do know and then branch out from there. Maybe the people you know may not have a job for you or a referral, but they may know other people that they could connect you with. Now, oftentimes for international students, they'll say, but I don't really know anyone here in Canada. So what do I do? So sometimes we are building our network from scratch. So in that case, you will start seeking out new contacts to build your network and find leads so that you can begin to create a network for yourself here in Canada. Networking, of course, is a two-way street. Try to connect with people who connect with you and think about what can you offer your network. Even things like offering resources, tips, support, encouragement, these are all things we can offer to people in our network, even if we can't offer a job or something like that. Networking can be formal or informal, and it can also be anytime, anywhere, especially online.
So looking at some networking activities that can be done virtually. So the first thing, of course, is to utilize career services. As Christina mentioned, we do offer a lot of great online workshops. We also have events, mentorship programs, and of course, reaching out to your career services consultant. That's a great way to start. And actively engage with your faculty as you start to start your classes and start to get to know your faculty, connect with them and ask them about potential opportunities and have some great discussions. Reach out to other faculty and staff as well to help kind of expand your network. And talk to recent graduates. You can ask for an informational interview. We are going to show you how to kind of ask for one of those using tools like LinkedIn, things like that. And use, like I said, use LinkedIn for professional networking as well. And take advantage of those networking events. It's a great way to make, to build your connections and meet new people in your industry and connect with your company of choice and engage with them on social media as well. So before a networking interaction, you want to make sure that your equipment and sound are working effectively. So you want to test those out prior to the interaction and ensure you have the proper platform, downloaded our app on your phone, whether that be Zoom, WebEx, or Teams. Make sure you have it downloaded and you know how to log on. And prepare a quiet, clean background space with good lighting. Make sure there isn't too many distractions, things like that will get in your way. And have your resume handy, a pen and a paper nearby for taking notes as well. And it's really important that you do dress for success. You want to be professional and practice it ahead of time. Don't memorize your key points or answers or talking points, and prepare that elevator pitch, which again, we will be talking about, and make sure you do your research prior for any industry info.
Awesome. So one thing we wanted to mention as well is volunteering. This is such a great activity to get involved in. With a lot of volunteer opportunities right now, there are options to do this virtually as well. So volunteering is something that looks really good on your resume. It can help add more to your resume, and it shows you're involved in your community. It helps you to gain and practice skills. The process of applying for volunteer positions and interview for them will help you to develop your job search skills. And volunteering is a great way to expand your network. So I usually suggest to students, try to volunteer if possible within your industry or within a company that you are actually interested in working for one day, so you can start learning about it as a volunteer and meeting people who work there as a volunteer. Since the pandemic, I've seen lots of volunteer opportunities that are virtual, things such as phone services. For example, I've seen one where once a week you call and check in on someone else in the community who lives alone. So even things like that that you can do over the phone, or I've seen ones to host sessions over Zoom with youth. So things like that you can look for when we're limited in being able to go places in person. So if you're interested, here are some places you can look for volunteer opportunities. So the Fanshawe Student Union has a whole section on volunteering. It's fsu.ca/volunteer. And those would be volunteer within Fanshawe. So those kind of opportunities. If you'll be in London, Ontario, pillarnonprofit.ca is the network of nonprofit and charity organizations in London, and they have several volunteer postings. And then there's also canadahelps.org, which has lots of information about different charities here in Canada that you can look at.
So we've mentioned the elevator pitch now, but this is how the steps you would take to craft that effective elevator pitch. So first, you want to identify the goal of the pitch, whether that be for a self-introduction, if you're marketing yourself through an advertisement, or building a connection. Then you want to clearly describe what you do. So whether that be what you study, research, build, or make, any relevant past experiences. And of course, focus on your strength, unique ideas you may have had, recent activities, latest accomplishments, and credit and compliment team members, supervisors, and mentors. And engage listener with a question, offer an opportunity to respond. So we do have a sample here of elevator pitch. Hi, my name is Zoe, and I am a junior studying material science and engineering with a minor in computer science. Last summer, I interned at 3M working on a project with a team assessing the heat resistance of a new plastics product. I was able to use my skills in software engineering to analyze past product failures and predict upcoming product failures. While I am knowledgeable in statistical applications, I also have a strong background and interest in metals, energy, and manufacturing. It's definitely been reassuring to see Boeing's commitment to those areas in the last few years. What are the most collaborative projects that interns typically work on at Boeing? So that would be something that you could use in a networking scenario, or potentially if you had an informational interview as well.
Yeah, it's such a great way to introduce yourself in a clear, concise way, and hopefully get the employer interested in wanting to learn more, right?
Yeah, and ending with a question, kind of demonstrating that you have done your research too.
Yeah, and gets the conversation open. Okay. So another great tool that we have for networking virtually that I'm sure many of you have heard of is LinkedIn. So here we have a poll And we would like to know how many of you have a LinkedIn profile. So Priyanka, if we can do the poll here, that would be perfect. There, I see it. Awesome. So do you have a LinkedIn profile? The options are, I was going to do just yes and no, but then I decided to add a third option called working on it, because I know that sometimes LinkedIn isn't an all or nothing thing. Sometimes you're kind of in progress, or you have a little bit of a profile, but you're not totally confident in it. So try and pick the option that you are best relating to right now for LinkedIn. Awesome. I can see lots of votes coming in. Okay, so we can see the results here. So 62% said yes, that's awesome. I'm so happy to see that. 22% said no. So if you don't have one, you can always create one. It is free to make a LinkedIn account. There's premium options you can pay for, but I only ever use the free version, and there's so much that you can do with it. And then 16% saying they are working on it. Awesome. And we have lots of resources in career services to help you if you are, not sure how to build your profile and want some help with it. So that's awesome. I personally do suggest to have a LinkedIn profile, because a lot of employers will recruit through LinkedIn. You have access to job postings there. And of course, it's such a great way to build your network. So I really suggest having it. So I'm going to give a couple tips about LinkedIn. One easy way to build your network virtually is adding new connections on LinkedIn. I usually suggest strategically add connections in your industry or who work in jobs you're interested in. One of the biggest tips is that when you are adding a new connection on LinkedIn who you do not know, it should give you the option to add a note. And I would say always add a note, because that will increase the chances that the person will accept your requests. So what to say in the note? We have a couple of examples here. I think probably the most relevant would be the two at the bottom. So let's say you're adding someone who you met briefly. Maybe they were a guest speaker in your class. Maybe you met them at a job fair. You can use something like this one. Dear Mark, it was great speaking to you at the conference or the job fair or at Fanshawe Works, insert whatever event it was. The mapping and charting work you do for airports sounds fascinating. I'd like to stay up to date on your career. Thank you, Lindsay. So that's a really quick note you can add to connect with someone who you met maybe briefly. Then we have another example here. Maybe you're adding someone on LinkedIn and you never actually met them before. You just kind of found their profile. So here's what you could say, something like this. Dear Samantha Kennedy, I found your profile on the Association of Professional Women page, or wherever you found it, and wanted to reach out to discuss potentially working together. I am a social media strategist with 6 years of experience and currently seeking new opportunities. Or you could say, I'm a new grad, or I'm a current student. You can personalize this to your situation. I'd love to chat about whether my background might be a fit for any of your openings, and happy to connect you with other professionals in my field. Looking forward to hearing from you, Kendra. So obviously you don't have to say it exactly like this, but hopefully this just gives you the idea that adding a little note saying where you found them and why you want to connect and who you are, that goes a really long way in increasing the chances that somebody will actually accept your LinkedIn request. So I always suggest adding that note. From there, if the person accepts you, a great next step is to ask them for an information interview. So here's a sample of how you can do that. And you can send them a direct message through LinkedIn Mail. And something like this, hi, Aaron, I found your profile through the Qatar University alumni list. I recently came to, this says the US, but for us, we'll say Canada. So I recently came to Canada. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about your career path in London, Toronto, wherever that person is. Would you be available for a 20-minute chat on the phone or let's not say in person right now, but let's say over the phone or on Zoom in the next few weeks, I look forward to hearing from you. Again, so something like this, you can send a message to a contact you've added and see if they'll have this 20-minute phone conversation or Zoom conversation with you so that you can learn more about their career and get some advice. So this is a really great way to use LinkedIn and expand your network. And even since the pandemic started, I've had virtual conversations with people who've added me on LinkedIn and asked to have a Zoom call. And it's really great to be able to still network and to still meet people, even though we're not able to go in person. So this is a great way to build your network.
Great. So LinkedIn has also added some new tools to help you stand out with your job search. So on your LinkedIn profile, you're able to use this filter feature that on your photo that shares that you are open to work. So this also helps you, it signals to the broader LinkedIn community of professionals that you're open to new opportunities. So when you like a post or comment on something, that'll show up on others' feeds that might not be a first connection as well, and just help you to expand your network as well. Just another additional way to let employers know that you are open for work. And the next new feature, which is really great, is the name pronunciation feature. So help others pronounce your name correctly. You're able to actually record how you would pronounce your name. And this is really important. If you're not sure how to pronounce someone's name and you're requesting maybe an informational interview with them over the phone or virtually, it's really important that you do know how to pronounce their name. Or if yourself as well. If you want others to be able to pronounce your name, this is a great feature that you can take advantage of. And it really helps you make that great first impression when you're able to pronounce others' names.
Perfect. I know that's definitely really helpful for me when I have that cue of how to pronounce name. It's great. Another feature on LinkedIn is called Spotlight Your Work. So it's this featured section that you see towards the top of the profile. So this is where you can put things like examples of your past work, maybe media like videos, documents, pictures, things like that that you really want towards the top of your profile so that someone can quickly and easily see some samples of your work. This could depend on your industry as well, right? Some industries are naturally more visual in that you could have pictures, in the food industry, you could have pictures of, here is a food tray that I made. In construction, you could have a video of, here is a building that I helped to build or design, right? So, or maybe you can have articles up there that you've published. So you can think about, is there anything like that, a sample or a visual or an example that you can pin to the top of your profile. And then of course, beyond LinkedIn, there are many other social media platforms that you can use to engage with companies. So, things like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, right? So finding company pages, following them, interacting with companies. I know, for example, my younger sister, she graduated last year from college and she ended up finding a job through a local health clinic. She followed them on Instagram and they posted about the role on Instagram. And that was the only place they posted. They didn't post on any other job site. So because she followed them, saw the post, she walked in, she applied, she was able to get that position. So definitely keep in touch with the companies on social media. However, always have to add here, before you engage with any company on social media, you want to make sure your own social media profiles are professional and appropriate, right? So if you're using Facebook to join groups or to follow companies or to comment on companies, that means they could click on your profile, potentially see things like your profile picture and activities and things like that. So you want to make sure if you are engaging with companies on social media, you're okay with them being able to look at your profile. If not, you may need to clean up your profile or make it more private or make it more professional in some way. So that's the only thing I would add there.
Great. And since we talked about how 80% of the jobs available are through personal contact, networking, referrals, you want to make sure you're only spending about 20% of your time on the online job boards. So we have a list here of some great resources that you can access. Of course, our career services job site, you can also access that through your FOL, but this link here will take you to our job site as well, and events, different things that are going on. Also, as mentioned, LinkedIn. There's a lot of job opportunities on LinkedIn. If you're not sure how to use it to do an effective search, do reach out to your consultant or attend a workshop. That'll definitely help with that. Nighthunter.com is also a great one for the London and area jobs. London Jobs Now for London Jobs.ca, workforcedevelopment.ca, jobbank.gc.ca has jobs across Canada. Worksica is a great tool too to get kind of that labor market information, as well as look at historical postings for your industry as well. And Indeed.ca is another popular one that I'm sure many of you have heard of, but also a great resource for your online job search. So when you're doing your job search, it's really important to track and follow up. So you want to track every job you apply to and every interaction you have. So whether that is connecting with somebody virtually through LinkedIn, or maybe an interaction with a classmate or friend or somebody in the community, and follow up as appropriate. So if you had an interview or an informational interview, give them time. If they say that the hiring decision will be made in a week's time, give them maybe a couple days after that deadline, and do follow up and be prepared for any news you might receive if it was a job interview, and ask for feedback if you were not the successful candidate. But it is important to follow up on your job search, make sure they received your application, and if you had that connection or referral as well, to see where things stand in the recruitment process.
Awesome. All right, and we wanted to mention here about job scams. So unfortunately, we do have scammers and fraudsters who pose as employers that we need to be aware of when we're job searching. So in this virtual world too, with everything going online, sometimes it's harder for us to really verify, is an employer real? Because we may not be able to physically go in for the interview or see them in person. So we're relying on a lot of online communication. Here are some of the warning signs of a job scam. So the offer is too good to be true. I would say sometimes this happens when, maybe a company reaches out to you immediately offering you a job and you don't even remember applying there or interviewing there. Always think carefully about that. Unprofessional emails. So basically this means that sometimes the scammers are very aggressive with their emails. They'll email you multiple times a day, pressuring you for information. And sometimes their emails will be full of mistakes or errors. So an actual professional company will not be aggressive with their emailing and usually will not have a lot of mistakes in errors in the email. So that can be a sign. Now this mentions online interviews via messaging services. That being said, in the pandemic world, a lot of interviews are happening virtually. I've seen a lot of companies using things like Zoom, WebEx, Teams. Sometimes the messaging services like WhatsApp and things like that, if you're getting an interview through that, I might just research that a little bit to see if it's legitimate. Contact info is a big one. If the company does not have their contact info in the email, or if they're using a Gmail or Yahoo instead of an actual company email, that could be worth looking into. Google them, and if the search results don't add up, that's often a red flag. Being careful if you're asked to provide confidential information. Always make sure the employer is legitimate before you were to give them any information. Big one here that we've seen is when an employer asks you to accept a check or a payment before you have even started working, and then asks you to send them money or valuables from your personal bank account. That's a big red flag there. Not getting paid for training or orientation. Employers in Canada are legally required to pay you for training. And finally, your gut says it's a scam. If something just feels off, my motto is better safe than sorry. If I can't 100% verify the employer, I usually advise students not to proceed. So that all this being said, there definitely are lots of legitimate companies and lots of great offers out there, but the last thing we'd want to see is you getting scammed or anything like that. So just keep this in mind when you're job searching. If you're having an interaction and you're just not sure, is this legitimate? You have the option to reach out to career services. Many times students have reached out to me and they've forwarded me, an email chain that they're having with a company. And they said, can you read over this? Can you help me determine, is this a legitimate company or not? And I'm happy to help you with that. So and any of the consultants are, we're happy to help you to kind of research and determine. So I see someone has their hand up. What do you think, Christina? Do you want to take a question now, or should we wait till the end for questions?
I know Priyank said that we were doing questions at the end, but it's up to you. I don't. Is he able to unmute? I'm not sure if you wanted to wait.
Okay. Well, is it okay? Maybe we'll wait till the end just so we can get through all the info, and then we'll take the question then. But that yours will be the first question we take. So when we get to that point. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So the next part of the job search is, of course, acing that virtual or phone interview. So the first step to do that is, of course, preparing for the interview. You really want to research. You want to research the company. So take some time to research the company, if possible, the interviewer, of course, the position and industry you're entering. So check out their website, the About Us section. Try to find the mission statement, values, different things about the company if they've been in the news. Check out their social media as well, and make sure you can answer potential interview questions related to content on the company's website. So you want to, of course, go through that job posting and highlight keywords or ideas, anything that might be bolded, repeated, underlined, italicized. Make sure you're familiar with that, and take some time to come up with examples of how you have demonstrated your skills that are relevant to this posting in the past. Review the resume that you yourself and cover letter have submitted. You have submitted the resume and cover letter for the position, so make sure you review those and plan. Consider what you will wear. Yes, you still want to dress for success, whether that be a virtual or phone interview. It just helps with your confidence. And of course, you're making a first impression during that virtual interview. So make sure you even have we're going to talk a little bit more about attire, but make sure you have a nice professional top and even bottoms on as well. And plan to be about 10 minutes early for that phone call so that you're ready to go, or that virtual session as well. And have a copy of your resume, cover letter, and a pen and paper nearby for note taking.
Okay. So dressing appropriately, what to wear. So I would say even for your virtual interactions, if it's a professional networking event or an interview, you always want to look your best. So especially when the camera's on, right? And definitely what you're wearing is usually visible, at least for your shirt. So you can make a good impression there. I know we're always joking during, COVID times that, hey, we're all wearing pajama pants and sweatpants. And that's definitely an awesome part of working from home and studying from home. But if you actually have an interview, I do suggest still wearing professional pants or whatever, something professional there, because just in case if you had to stand up or move for some reason, that could become visible. So just to give you an example, so one of my friends, she works as a nurse, and she actually has changed jobs during the pandemic. She changed from home care to working at a hospital that needed extra assistance. And she had to do an interview for that. And the interview was virtual, but they asked her to show some certificates to prove training that she had. And so she actually said, yes, I have, my first aid and everything certificate right here. And she actually stood up brought them back. So something like that, her whole outfit was visible in the camera. So she said, I'm really glad I actually wore nicer pants instead of just like my sweatpants or my leggings, right? So just keeping that in mind for the interview, just in case if there's some reason you're standing up, you're moving, you always want to have that professional impression. So the general rule for what to wear for an interview is dress one level above what people are wearing day to day on the job. So these are business professional examples. This would be for workplaces where people are already dressing on the job, office attire. So one level above that, we have things like collared shirts, a blazer, a tie, and formal dress pants. And if you are going somewhere in person, then you would have to think a bit about the shoes. I do know of some companies that are still having in-person interviews even through the pandemic. So for the examples for shoes, you'll see dress shoes that are closed-toed and, hopefully nicely polished or clean as possible. That's what we would suggest. We do have another set of examples here of what to wear. This is called business casual. So this would be for jobs where people are already dressed pretty casual day to day on the job. So to go one level above that, we would say business casual. So the examples here are things like a golf shirt, maybe a nice sweater, a blouse with a pair of dress pants or khakis, possibly a nice pair of jeans, depending on the industry. So always do a little bit of research on the industry and on the job. Try to find out, what do people wear day to day? What could be appropriate to wear to an interview? And I always suggest think about this ahead of time before you even get an interview, so that you have some things to wear that are ready to go. And say you have to maybe buy a couple of new items, you have time to do that with lots of advance time before the interview. So just think about this. Do you have something you could wear, a couple things, and are they ready to go? That way you'll feel prepared for your virtual networking events and interviews.
Awesome. So when preparing for that phone or virtual interview, you want to make sure you choose a quiet location in your home or apartment, and make sure that you remove any distractions. So turn off notifications on your computer, the TV, radio. Ask your roommates to give you some time, some quiet time. Siblings or pets, make sure that they're not in the way of distraction. And make sure your phone is turned on silent as well. And gather documents, like Christina mentioned with her friend. If you think they might be asking for proof of certifications, wouldn't be a bad idea to have those handy as well as your resume, cover letter, and of course, pen and paper for notes. And test your technology ahead of time. We talked about making sure you had the appropriate software installed on your computer. Make sure that your, or if it's a phone interview, make sure you're in a good place that has good reception, but make sure your webcam and microphone are working ahead of time as well. You can always mention as well, give them a heads up that if something happens, make sure you have a number that you can reach the interviewer backup if something happens with your virtual interview. Maintain professionalism at all times with your posture, eye contact, language as well, and teach yourself to be comfortable with silence. Allow the interviewer to take some time to make any notes or ask questions. You don't want to be rude and talk over them or interrupt them at all. And again, like I said, prepare for those glitches. So have a backup plan. If something were to happen and you lost Wi-Fi connection, have a phone number. If something happened with your phone, make sure you have everything ready and let them know you will be calling them back. And continue to complete the full interview preparation, doing that research, and be knowledgeable and specific with your answers. So it's a good idea to really practice some potential answers ahead of time and make some notes. And ask your own relevant and thoughtful questions. You want to have 3 or 4 questions to ask the employer ahead of time, and make sure that they aren't questions, those what's in it for me questions about salary, vacation, things like that. Make sure they're questions that maybe demonstrate that you've done some research on the company or when a hiring decision will be made, so you have an idea of when to follow up. And be memorable at the close. And within the 24-hour mark, you want to send a thank you note. I would say by email right now, and just thank them, restate interest in the position, and briefly thank them for the opportunity to interview, and reflect on the interview. What went well? What could you improve on for next time? So follow up. If you want it, you have to reach for it. So it is, like I mentioned before, it is extremely important for each encounter, direct contact, or job application you want to follow up. So this gives that opportunity to restate interest and fit for the job, and it helps build that positive relationship. It lets the employer know that you're taking the initiative and have some enthusiasm towards the job. So you want to send a follow-up call or email within 48 hours of your initial contact. So if that's for a networking event or an introduction that you may have had through one of your connections, and then follow up about a week later. But it's important to be persistent and not insistent, and be very respectful of others' times as well. So be prepared because a follow-up call could potentially turn into a pre-screening interview. So have your notes and your resume handy as well when making a phone call.
I forgot I muted myself for a minute back there. Okay, that's another thing about the virtual world, right? Always make sure you're unmuted before you talk. Important tip. So if you would like to practice for your interviews, we have this amazing platform that is called Interview Stream, and you have access to this for free as a Fanshawe student and even as an alumni. So all you need to use this is a computer that has internet connection, a webcam, and a mic. And then you can sign up on the website. So it is fanshawe.interviewstream.com. So sign up using your FOL email, and there are preset interviews, or you can create them. The person on the screen will ask you the interview questions, and then you respond, and you can watch the video back. So this is really great for practicing talking into the computer for virtual interviews, getting used to looking into the camera, watching back for your pace, your volume, how fast you're speaking. Are you speaking clearly? Are you using filler words like or like and things like that, right? So you can watch yourself back. You can practice as many times as you want to really get comfortable with interviews and with talking into the computer. So this is a really great platform. So we wanted to leave you with a couple of additional resources, and then we'll get into questions. So always remember that we have workshops every week through Career Services that you can access for free. They happen virtually. So through FOL, under the Resources tab, go to Career Co-op CCR and then pick Events. There you will see our calendar for the month. We have a lot of great workshops coming up in May. We also post on there any other networking events or things that are going on that you may want to attend. Just a note as well, if there's a workshop you want to attend, but say that you cannot attend at that day or that time because you have class, or maybe it doesn't work with the time zone you're in, email us and we can send you a recording of the session afterwards, because we don't want anyone to miss this valuable information because they had to go to class or because it didn't work with their time zone. So we're very flexible to work with you to make sure you can get the information. To find the consultant for your program, fanshawe.ca/career, there's a section for Career Services contacts. You can see the different consultants and what programs they support. I know you're meeting a ton of people and it's all going really fast right now. It's lots of information. So this is something you can come back to remember, wait a minute, who am I supposed to email? Right. You can also just contact our general email, which is career@fanshawe.ca, to ask who your consultant is, let them know your program, and they'll forward it to the right person. So now we should be ready to take some questions. I know there was a couple of people who had their hands up throughout.
See him right there.
Yeah, Sarshit, that was one. So
oh, perfect.
Is that, can we unmute?
Good morning, Christina. So thanks for that opportunity. So I wanted to know, like you mentioned about sending a note to the person and also the message after they accept our request on the LinkedIn. So, but what to do and what type of the notes we can send when there is a case of more of a collaboration and less of like seeking for a job or information from them, like how well we can frame our like verdict and the notes so that they are open to discuss with few opportunities or the few collaborations things we might offer to them.
So if, just to make sure I understand the question, if you're reaching out to someone and you're not necessarily asking for a job or a referral for a job, but maybe just to collaborate with them on a project or maybe have a discussion with them kind of thing? Is that what you're asking?
Oh, he can't unmute himself.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yep, like maybe from the collaboration point of view also, maybe if we are suppose working in some job where we need to build connections where we can build getting more work with collaborating with them more. So that can also be the other way of seeing these things.
Yeah, I think you have so many options when you're reaching out and connecting with people. You know, even just when you're first adding a connection, a very simple note like, for example, hi, Christina, I am a current student at Fanshawe College in Information Technology. I saw on your profile that you've been working in the tech industry in London for 10 years. I would love to connect. Thank you. You know, even something really simple like that, you don't even necessarily need to say, I'm looking for a job, or I'm looking for this, or I'm looking for that. You can just really simply say, I saw your profile, I'm a current student, I really admire your career, would like to connect. So even just something that simple, it helps, right? Because it at least gives them that little bit of an explanation as for why you want to connect with them. So I would suggest something like that. And then if you want to send them a personal message afterwards to talk about, you know, an information interview or collaborating, right? You can always adjust that message. You know, I've wanted to reach out. A really good tip is try to find if there's anything you have in common with that person, right? Maybe you both took a similar subject or area of study in your undergrad. Maybe you both went to Fanshawe. That's why it's great to reach out to Fanshawe alumni, right? Because right away you have something in common. Maybe you volunteered for a similar organization, right? So you can message them. You know, I noticed that we both did our bachelor's in electronics engineering. I'd love to chat with you about, and then insert whatever you want to chat with them about collaborating, about an information interview, to learn more about the field, you know, and then let me know when you're free or something. So you can always adjust and edit those messages to suit your purposes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
So my question is, here in Canada, is it okay to put my preferred name on my resume or my LinkedIn account or other social media platforms? And maybe just let the employer know my legal name afterwards?
Yeah, I always say that you can go by your preferred name as well for your resume and LinkedIn, whichever name you prefer to be identified with, like as somebody to acknowledge you as, sorry.
And in addition to that, would that make a different impression? Or maybe should I include that on my cover letter? And maybe probably on the interview itself, I can just like let them know my legal name.
Christina, did you, sorry.
Yeah. I don't think it would affect anything too much. Technically, a resume is not a legal document, so you don't necessarily have to put the legal name on it. Sometimes at the time of employment, that's when the employer might require ID of some sort, which would have your legal name, right? So even at that time, you could explain, this is my legal name, however I go by, and then whatever you go by. So a lot of people do that. You know, a lot of people have a different version of their name or a shorter version of their name for different reasons. So I'd say it's a fairly common thing. I don't think it would negatively impact your application.
I also sometimes see students on their header of their resume put their legal name in brackets, but have their preferred name first. So that's also another option. But yeah, like Christina mentioned, it's not necessary and it is common.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
I'm seeing people asking about recordings for today's sessions and even yesterday's. I believe you do get a recording if you registered
I'm
for.
gonna answer that question.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you.
I see a couple of people asking that question. As I mentioned yesterday, yes, each and every one of you who have registered for the workshop, all of you will be getting recording, handouts, as well as the presentation files after both days. So also after end of this day, and when we will have the recording available. So all together you will receive it. So I see Colin and a couple of students have asked me for yesterday. So you will get both days together. And that will be probably at the end of today and after a couple of hours from there. Thank you.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Lots of questions coming through.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Christina.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask a question regarding the interview dress code. I know it might seem trivial, but I wanted to know what kind of hairstyle would be more suitable, as I have long hair and I usually don't share them. So it becomes a really difficult time for me to decide what kind of hairstyle would be more formal or more appropriate. So would you please guide me with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything where your hair is of course neat and out of your face is the best way to go. So if you'd rather have it tied back, or if you want it partially out of your face, you just don't want to make sure it's distracting and looks neatly groomed as well.
All right, thank you.
Exactly. I'd say there's not necessarily one right hairstyle. I mean, I think I totally agree, Christina Raps. I think the biggest thing for me is, for you, will your hair become a distraction for you in the interview, right? I know sometimes in the interview we have nervous habits, and maybe you're checking your watch or you're fixing your hair or those kind of things. So for me, I would probably want my hair out of my face just so that I'm not distracted by it, right? Or tempted to always be touching my hair. But that's just, for you yourself, you want to feel comfortable and not distracted, right? And then, like Christina Rapson said, neat and well groomed as possible. So that's what I would say.
Definitely what you're comfortable with too, right?
Yeah.
Great questions are coming in. Again, if we can take some questions from chat now.
Oh, okay, of course.
Absolutely.
You've got a lot here.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where to begin. Let's see.
So I saw something about finding part-time jobs other than full-time jobs and job portals you mentioned. Yes, you should be able to filter for part-time opportunities on each of those job portals we mentioned as well. So there is an option to find part-time jobs. On our job site as well, there is a section with just part-time jobs. There's a lot of great ways to use it. Again, if you want to connect with your career consultant or attend a workshop as well, we do go over that in greater detail as well to help you filter and do an advanced search.
Yeah, even on Indeed, if you're familiar with Indeed, you type in, the type of job you're looking for and where. You can type in part-time and, London, Ontario, for example, and that will pull the part-time jobs for you.
Hi, Christina. This is Maya. There's one question being asked here on the chat. I'm just going to read it from Igor about LinkedIn. Should I keep my past experiences on profile even if they don't match with actual field of study or work here in Canada? And he thanked us. Thank you, Igor.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Hello,
Thank
Christina.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a mechanical engineer and I want to start my career in IT. I had even called you yesterday since you are a career counselor of the IT field. I even left a voicemail. So I just wanted to tell you to please talk to me once.
So Nicole, I got your voicemail. I'm
Yeah.
so glad we've connected. I tried to call you back yesterday. It took me to the front desk of a hotel and they
Yeah.
could not put me through to you without your room number. So
So my
I didn't
room-
know how to find you. So I'm really glad I found you. I was thinking, I don't know how to connect.
Yeah, I've been searching for you everywhere.
Yeah. Because I called you back and it was the front desk of the hotel and they said, we can't connect you based just on the name. We need the room number.
So
So
my room number is 873.
oh, yeah, no problem. Now, honestly, if you can email me, email is the best way to connect.
Since my orientation day is 3rd May and it is getting close, I have to make up my mind because I've already registered myself in practical elements of mechanical engineering. So I
Yeah.
want to start my career in IIT because I had some computer courses in my mechanical engineering as well. So I'm really interested in IT career when I got here in Canada. So some of the people said IT is a good field, and it gave me the impetus to to talk to you once and make up my mind. So please, can we have a healthy talk?
Nicole, it's
Yeah.
it's Darlene.
Yeah. Hi.
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 Okay, so I think what you need to do is you need to contact the international office, not Christina, because the international office will help you change your program.
Mm-hmm. I have already talked to them, and there is no appointment till 10th of May. So, and my program
okay.
is starting on 3rd May. So I am in a fix what to do. I'm
Okay.
really in a
Okay,
fix.
you need to email the international office, please.
Nicole, if you can connect with international, we'll be happy to help. And it might take few time, like it might take maybe a few hours or so, but if you can email, that would be great. And then we'll be happy to in touch.
So could you please give me your email ID?
Yes, I will send you in a message. No problem.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll connect to
No
you.
problem.
And your good name is?
Priyank.
All right, sir. I'll be mailing you. Thank you so
No
much.
problem.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Priyank. Yeah, they will get you sorted out for the program change there. Okay, sorry about that, Maya. We had the question from Igor about LinkedIn, about keeping the past experience on the profile, right?
I think I found it now here in the chat as well.
Okay.
So he wants to know, or he or she wants to know, should I keep my past experience on profile, even if they don't match with my actual field of study or work here in Canada? Thank you. What do you think? I would say yes, I would still list any of your past experience and education on your LinkedIn profile.
100%, I agree. Of course, it depends a little bit on the situation too, and case by case, but in general, I would say yes. From your past experiences, if they were in another country or if they were in another industry, oftentimes they still give us very valuable skills in things like decision-making, problem solving, time management, dealing with pressure, organization, right? So I would include them. And if they're not in the industry you're going into now, when you describe what you did in that job, focus on those transferable skills, right? So for example, say that you worked front counter at McDonald's and now you want to be a mechanical engineer, right? At first thought, you might say, I don't think there's anything that's connected, but try to think about what are some of those things maybe from McDonald's, like I worked on a team, I worked under pressure, I communicated with people, right? I had to be organized, I had to be reliable. So mention those types of skills so that you can show the employer what are the components from those past jobs that actually will transfer over into your new industry. So that's what I would suggest.
Absolutely. And if you need support with that, like how to write an effective professional summary or anything like that to help you expand and make connections in your new industry, do reach out to your consultant. Okay. I've got like a few direct messages too, so I think everything's kind of.
Hey, hello, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. Thanks a lot for asking. So I just had like one question. So I have already started building up my LinkedIn. So the thing is, I don't have any experience as such because I've been managing my own family business. So what is the chances of me as a fresher getting a job in Canada?
So you don't have, okay. Sorry.
Go on, Christina.
No,
go
you
ahead.
can go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, not at all. So firstly, I would say just in general, if anyone is worried about not having enough experience, always think about what you do have. So one thing that really stood out with that question was you mentioned you have experience running a family business. Even things that you've done for a family business, I would still mention that. You know, you can mention that you were self-employed or as a family business and think about what tasks that you did in that role, right? Because there is a lot of skill involved in that employers here will see benefit in. The other big suggestion I have, if you don't have a lot of experience, think about your education as a really huge component of experience and of how you'll market yourself to employers. So whenever you're putting your education on your LinkedIn profile or your resume, describe it as much as you can. Describe the courses you're taking, talk about the projects you're doing, talk about the programs that you've learned, and really add a lot of content to your education section, because that's where you can show employers that you are trained, that you are skilled, and that you have hands-on practice from school. So definitely mention whatever experience you do have and mention your education, and that can really help you market yourself for positions here in Canada. Volunteering as well, great to do if you have little experience. Volunteering is a great way to gain skills, to gain experience. You can add it to your resume, and that can help make you more employable too. But anything you would add to that, Christina Rapson?
Yeah, I was going to say as well, you have some great experience with your family business, volunteering, if you can, if there's clubs that you can be a part of or any extracurriculars, maybe you were when you were a student as well. There's a lot of great transferable skills there and different ways to kind of expand and develop some skills as well. So yeah, that would be my advice as well, Christina.
Absolutely. That's such a good point. There's so many things you can get involved with virtually on at Fanshawe too that can help build your resume. So, you know, if you're feeling like you're looking at almost a blank page, it's okay. You can build it. You can get involved. You can volunteer. You can join clubs. You can, you know, start keeping track of all the projects you're doing. So you can really add to that and build that resume so that you feel confident with it.
So I'm seeing a question about applying for part-time jobs or volunteer while we are still in our home country. And Christina, we recommend not doing the part, but volunteer, we could potentially, if it's remote, you could, I don't see why not if you're in home country, right? Of course, you want to let the organization know, especially when with things like the difference in time zones, things like that as well. Unfortunately, you should be here in country to apply for those part-time jobs. And you want to make sure you have your proper work permit as well.
Yeah, and I know for a lot of students, they're very keen and excited to start job search in Canada. One thing I recommend you can work on while you're in your home country is maybe preparing your resume, preparing your cover letter, attending some workshops about how to job search. Those are all things that you can start doing. But then, yeah, I would wait till you actually arrive in Canada and it gives you time to get settled, apply for your social insurance number and that kind of thing, and then actually start applying. But you can do a bit of that prep work ahead of time so that you are, you know, ready to go sooner once you arrive.
Great point, Christina. And I see Darlene in the chat had mentioned too, there are lots of international volunteer opportunities in your home country. Absolutely. So take advantage of that as well. But yeah, this is a good time to prepare for when you do arrive as well for your job search.
Okay, so there's a question here. Can I mention my non-certified work experience on my LinkedIn profile or on my resume? Like last year, I worked with a local convenience store and I was a manager there. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by non-certified. Maybe if you can clarify that. It sounds to me from your question, if you worked at a convenience store as a manager, yes, I would definitely put that on there. It sounds like it was really good experience, so I would include it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Good morning.
Hi.
I needed to ask, I'm actually in Canada and today was my last day of quarantine. So I need to ask about the bus pass that how can I get a bus pass here or how can I travel around here?
Kashish, thanks for that question. Again, you will must have received an email regarding International Welcome, which is happening on Friday. That's when you will receive all that kind of information.
Yeah, on 29th, right? On 30th.
That is correct. On 30th. On 30th.
On 30th, it's about SIN number and all that. So what if I want to travel right now? Is there anything?
Then you need to reach out to International email because unfortunately I do not have an answer at this point right now, but you can send an email and I will send you what email you should send a message right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I think it may be FSU for the bus pass, Christina? Do you remember that?
I'm not sure how it's working remotely, but yes, I believe they do issue that.
Yeah.
FSU and Registrar's Office.
So someone's asking, can I include a paid internship as experience in my profile? For that, I would say yes, definitely. Someone is asking about certificates from Udemy and other sites. Generally for those, I would say yes. Just mention where you got it. So anytime you're listing a course or a certification, say where you got it. Was it Udemy? Was it Coursera? Was it LinkedIn Learning? And when you got it as well, so we can see how recent it is. And I see Maya has shared the link in the chat for the career consultant's contact info.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can look up your consultant and how to reach them.
And I saw a question about internships and co-op in Canada. Are they normally paid? For co-op, if you're in a co-op endorsed program, typically they are paid opportunities. And with internships, you want to look, we usually specify if it's unpaid or if it's a paid opportunity. I mean, I do see unpaid opportunities for internships. I'm not sure about you, Christina, but and also paid ones as well. So. Seeing lots of bus pass questions.
Everyone who's asking for bus pass, again, I would like to mention, attend International Welcome, which is happening on Friday. That's when you will receive answer to all this kind of question, also health insurance and everything else in between.
Perfect. Yeah, I saw Darlene said International will welcome these types of questions. So that's good to know.
Great.
Perfect. Any other questions related to your job search at all that we can answer?
Hi, Christina. I hope you guys are doing good.
Thank you.
And I have a question. I am attending my classes from India. So let's suppose, given the current pandemic situation, I have a 8 months course and with 4 months of co-op. So let's suppose I could not land in Canada because of the current situation here, and my co-op will start from January. So in that case, what will happen? I mean, how will I attend the co-op from my home country, and how will things shape up?
You want me to help you answer that, girls?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So co-op, I'm responsible for co-op as well. And my suggestion is to reach out to your co-op consultant. That person will be in the letter that I sent to everybody. And there are some different options to get your co-op credit, even if you can't get to Canada. So reach out to your co-op consultant and they'll be able to help you answer that question.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we can take a couple more questions. We have 2 minutes left for the session.
Okay.
Should we go to the chat, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. There's quite a bit in there. I am seeing stuff about class registration or class schedules and things like that as well, which will be, those questions will be addressed at your international welcome, I believe.
Oh, I see a question about Facebook groups. That's a great question. There is a good one for London. It's called London Jobs Now. I know that I'm part of the group and I know a lot of our other consultants are, and I see lots of really good info in there. So, right? What's it called? London and Now Hiring London, Ontario. That's what it's called. Sorry about that. Getting everything confused here. Now Hiring London and area. I'll try and type that in the chat for.
And I'm also seeing job advertisements in some of the buy and sell groups as well. I'm not sure if you've had that experience. So definitely it's a great tool to use, groups as well. But the one that's Christina mentioned is probably the best one for London-based jobs.
Yeah, definitely have heard of legitimate job offers through Facebook and Instagram, but I would say just be careful and do your research because you could get some fraudulent ones there too. And I mean, that's anything, right? Indeed, sometimes we see fraud, so always use your discretion, always use your best judgment. There can be legitimate ones that get through, and then there could be other ones that aren't so legitimate. So I would just say always use your judgment when dealing with those kind of things.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, Christina, if something you're just not sure, reach out to us. We're happy to look into that for you and verify and make sure that it is indeed a legitimate opportunity before you disclose any personal information or meet with them or anything like that as well.
All right, I think we're at the end of this session. If Christina, you want to say last words.
Thank you so much for attending today. I hope you enjoyed the session.
Yeah, and thank you. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I look forward to seeing you guys again or meeting with you if you reach out and connect.
Absolutely. Same here. Thank you so much for having us. We want to welcome everybody to Fanshawe. We wish you the best of luck. I can share my email in the chat. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions. So I just put my email in the chat there. Feel free to email me if you're in one of my programs and have a question. I'm happy to help you. And I know Christina Rapson, same thing.
I just left my email as well. Please do reach out if you're in one of my programs, or even if you're not and you need help connecting with the appropriate consultant.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much to both Christinas. And again, yes, we do apologize for not having to be able to answer all the questions that you had. We know you had many questions. If you had any, as both of them have sent their email address, so do reach out to them. And now we are going to take a break for next 8-10 minutes or so, where you do have an opportunity to message in the chat with each other. You can find out which program you are from. You can try to communicate here. But I would advise do not share any personal information, such as your phone number or email address. You can share WhatsApp group address or something if you are planning to do so, but please communicate with each other for next 8 minutes or so, and we will be back with the new session, which is what the job market looks like in Canada, where we have a special guest, Robert Collins from LEDC, which is London Economic Development Corporation, and also Canadian Workplace Expectation, which will be conducted by Sue Bennett. So we'll be back with the next session. Meanwhile, enjoy, take a break, have a coffee or something, and we'll be back in a second. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Collins.
Hello, Sue. How nice to see you. Or not. I can't see you right now.
It's Darlene.
Oh, hi, Darlene.
Good morning. I'm here too.
I see you, Sue. Yeah, I saw you online earlier.
Darlene, just so you know,
Yeah.
that Sue and I have conspired. So I'm taking a little bit longer, but it's setting the stage for Sue's remarks.
I think that's brilliant.
Well,
Yes.
we'll see.
We decided to switch it up.
Yeah.
It's been a very busy program so far. So.
Oh God, I got a background on. Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you had a great break. I know that the two Christinas gave you a lot of information, and it's very interesting during the break. You guys are paying a lot of attention because we actually have just uncovered a fraudulent employer as a result of Fanshawe Works yesterday's session. So to the student that sent that email, thank you for paying attention and not getting caught up in fraudulent employment. Just a reminder to not share personal information in the chat. When you're on break, you can share your programs and things like that and try to network and connect. This next session is a really special session. We have with us Robert Collins, who is a friend of the college. And Robert works at the London Economic Development Corporation, and he is an expert on the local London employment market. So Robert will be able to share with you some really very important information about London. And also we have a co-op consultant with us who's a member of my team, Sue Bennett. And Sue is going to share with you Canadian workplace expectations. So without further ado, and to make sure that they have lots of time for their presentation, I'll turn it over to Robert and Sue.
Thanks very much, Darlene, for that a very warm introduction. And yes, first of all, I'd like to congratulate everyone on this Zoom session on selecting Fanshawe College. Fanshawe College, as you know, is the leading college in Ontario for helping people prepare for and find work. And that's through the great efforts of not only the faculty and the programs, but also the great work of Fanshawe's career and entrepreneurial services. So congratulations on that great choice. And I'm going to show you how I want you to try to make another great choice, which is actually to really start your job search now and really start investigating the great opportunities in London. And one of the key points about London is that we are a pilot community for many new initiatives, so that the things that you learn here can apply to opportunities across the country. So moving forward, Priyank's helping me move my slides forward. So thanks very much, Priyank, if you could do that. The London Economic Development Corporation is specifically hired by the City of London to bring new business to London, to help businesses grow, and to celebrate that and to make sure that that's really a successful part of London. And I'm going to share some of those opportunities. But the key ingredient for our companies to be successful is talent. And that's the workforce. And that's what you bring to London. And you're incredibly important to us. Moving to the next slide. Just to remind you that London is strategically positioned in our community, in Southern Ontario, between two Great Lakes, and we have 150 million people within a 1 day drive. So think about that. Those of you supply chain and logistics, just how critically important that location is to us. We were in 2019, the second fastest growing city in Canada. We dropped a little bit last year because of COVID, but next year, with your help, we expect to be back up in the leadership positions as well. Moving forward. Our next slide. Just think about that location and think about the amenities and the marketplace from Detroit to Toronto, New York, Chicago. And then moving to the next slide, you will see just where we're positioned in relationship to the various different states. And when you think about it, we're very close to Northern California. And if you go right across to Europe, you will find that we're close to, we're on the same latitude as Madrid and Florence. And then I urge you to look at that 48 degrees and see where we're located across the, in the countries that you come from. This is a critically important in terms of both the being able to support local businesses. We have borders, we have sort of border crossings into the United States. We have 6 within 2 hours of London, which is critically important. As well as, you know, we have an international airport, which importantly also has duty-free cargo places. So companies love to import through London and then distribute across Canada. And when you get really annoyed when you're traveling around London, because you'll find the trains that are crossing some of our streets, you will find that those trains, though, are shipping goods from London, which are making their way around the world. In fact, one of our pizza factories is making pizzas in London, and they're being delivered to Australia. So moving forward. We have a population of 500,000 plus. Our unemployment rate last year was 8.7. It's currently 7%, which is actually lower than the federal and provincial governments. When you look at that very busy slide to the right, it shows that we have actually quite a balanced economy between the different sectors. That means actually, when I look at the stats from last year, from 2020, we have been one of the most resilient communities in terms of maintaining employment in key sectors like our manufacturing sectors, digital creative, which includes IT space, etc. Of course, like others, we have been hurt a little bit in our hospitality and our retail sectors, but we expect that to bounce back. Moving forward to the next slide. So as you know, COVID has affected us, but we are, and we have been, this slide was just done last month. As you know, we're in a bit of a lockdown now, but just to let you know that our incidence rates is much less than the province as a whole. And we are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And as mentioned, our companies have been resilient and are actively hiring. And I'm going to point out some of those opportunities in a second. Next slide, please. Just to remind you of all of the great features that London has. And the reason I'm mentioning these to you is because part of finding employment is actually getting out to explore the community and making connections, both formally and informally. To remind you that London is currently about 22% of us, and you can probably hear that in my accent, have come from somewhere else. And we expect with the next census, you will find that London's even more diverse. With over 160 languages, you will find that we have a synagogue, a mosque, a church, a temple for you here in London. We're affordable, and I'm going to go over that in a moment. We also have active childcare spaces, and it's probably one of the lower costs in the province, around $1,100 a month. And we expect that with the new federal government initiative to be even lower over time, creating even more employment opportunities. And as I've mentioned, London is so well connected geographically, also obviously with high fiber throughout our community, etc. Next one. Just to remind you that the average cost of a house has been escalating, but in London, you will see that compared to other major urban environments, our costs are still significantly less. But I would urge any of you to get started and get into the housing market because they have been increasing. But the interesting thing is that our rental accommodation at about approximately $1,500 for quite a nice 2-bedroom apartment has remained relatively stable. And we have an awful lot of rental accommodation coming on stream, both downtown and around London in the months ahead. Moving on, which by the way is creating jobs in construction. Next slide. Just to remind you of the great things in London. We have a very active music scene. We've got lots of trails. We've got great sports, semi-professional sports when they're back in action, which we're hoping is soon, opportunities to shop. And when you're here in the summertime, you're going to start to see the range of events coming back, which attract thousands of people from across the region. In other words, London has a lot to do at every season. And the importance of pointing these out are, please get out of your great red bubble of Fanshawe College and start to meet people in these different settings. Often it's the people you meet in these settings which will help you then find those critical employment opportunities. Moving to the next slide, please. To remind you that we have that great continuum anchored by Fanshawe College of educational opportunities. As you know, for those of you here who've come here or are coming here with children, there is free elementary and high school for your children. With Fanshawe College's great range of programs, which is specifically connected to industry, there are great opportunities. We also have a research intensive university. And for those of you who want to have some particular educational needs, we also have some private schools as well. So great opportunities as you're discovering at Fanshawe to learn. The next slide, sorry, thank you. This is really rather important for you to sort of recognize, as most of us are attracted to big brands. And this pattern holds true across the country, where we have approximately, less than 5% are large businesses. We have 85% of our companies are small to medium. That means they tend not to have a human resources function or a person. It's those medium to large that do. So how do small businesses hire? Well, from the most recent survey, it's from who they know, but also through job boards. And so that's why the Fanshawe job board is critically important to you, as well as some other ones I'm going to mention to you, to find those opportunities. So bear in mind, that's the pattern. So I urge you to start looking at the small and medium ones, not just the large. What London has woken up to is that our population is changing. People like me are aging and will be leaving the workforce sooner rather than later. So that's why London is really keen for international students to arrive and stay in London, creating, and you can see by us leaving the labor market, we're creating lots of opportunities. So please tell that also to your family and friends back home. Next slide, please. What I want to share very quickly is some of our key sectors and some of the opportunities that are abounding here. London is the only city with water from both Great Lakes, which is an essential ingredient for our agri-food or food processing sector. To let you know that we're building a major chicken plant for Maple Leaf Foods, which is going to have 1,500 to 2,000 people working there within 2 years from now. So they need talent. Bosco and Roxy's has just signed to develop a new advanced facility. Nestle, a global brand, is expanding. Dr. Oetker has room to grow 3 times. And McCormick has just added a ketchup line, adding staff. So you can see, in a moment I'll mention the job boards where you can find some of these key opportunities. But for each of the sectors that I'm talking about today, remember there are finance roles, supply chain, human resources, quality control, and technology roles in each one of our key growing sectors. Next slide, please. Our manufacturing sector has been a very key and traditional area of London, but these companies have come from around the world. Brose from Germany, Diamond Aircraft, originally from Austria, now owned from China. Trojan Technologies, owned from the US and Europe, but was started in London, makes water purification systems using ultraviolet light. New York City's water is being purified using Trojan Technologies. You'll see that 3M, a major leading worldwide brand, its Canadian headquarters are here. We have 1 factory here, but they coordinate 7 factories across the country. But they also have a research arm developing new products. And from London, very active marketing and sales team are selling their products across the country. Moving to the next sector. Digital media and tech have been on a tear. They've been growing rapidly. In fact, you will see over 500 job titles through our job board, which I'm going to mention in a moment, which also directly links to Fanshawe's job board. Companies like Race Roster, which are producing technology to run any kind of walk or race, has been recently acquired by ASICS from Japan. Digital Extremes makes the video game Warframe. And sometimes you'll see when they have the great telecom conference in London, just swarms of people in their costumes. But they have, at any given point, they have millions of players in their games. If you look at the next time you go to a bank machine, please look to see what's the technology running that. You will see the name Diebold. Well, that company started in London and created the software which is in 1/3 of all North American bank machines. And that's just scratching the surface. Moving to the next sector. London has been a traditional regional health center. The first heart transplant happened in London. Insulin was discovered in London. So there are jobs both in primary care, long-term care, also in medical technology. So Trudell Medical, as an example, are making airway chambers, which help you get the right amount of medication in your lungs in the right way, using a very reliable equipment which they've developed. And of course, those are distributed worldwide. London has a niche in clinical research trials. So we, from London, whether it be KGK Science, Alimentif, or Styrus Research, they're coordinating clinical trials to make sure the medications are reliable and safe to use and actually have the desired effect. So there are lots of jobs across the full section of healthcare. Next section, please. And of course, London, as both a regional center and also servicing the world, has a number of different professional services companies. We're a major component of TD. In fact, the building that I'm in today is 2 towers downtown. They have approximately 3,500 employees. But Carfax Canada, which by the way, is if you're going to buy a car, you want to know about a used car, you want to know about its history. Not only is Carfax Canada here, Carfax US, but its parent companies, IHS Markit, is also expanding in London. And when you look at LBMX, they make purchasing software for collectives. So smaller companies can compete with the Amazons and the big box stores, et cetera. But yet again, many of these companies, they're based here in London and they're servicing places around the world. So why do I mention this? It's because you, with international experience and perspective, bring that added value, not only the great learning you'll have at Fanshawe College, but also that international perspective, your understanding of global market places and different cultural issues. So all of that is very helpful to expanding London businesses. Moving to the next slide, please. So think about it. Look at all of these different companies. There are opportunities that are bound for you. But I do urge you to start looking at them now in your journey. And I want to share with you some resources in the next slide about how to go about that. Oh, by the way, sorry, this is just to remind you that actually as I mentioned, London is a perfect test market. It's also a great place to start a business. So we have a number of different resources and a great one at Fanshawe College. Leap Junction and the whole range of entrepreneurial services being developed with Fanshawe's Innovation Village, which will support you as you start to think about what's that kind of great business opportunity. As we move to the next slide. Here are some resources which I think are pretty critical to help you in your job search. First of all, London Tech Jobs and London Manufacturing Jobs, both of which collect both the interesting companies, but the opportunities, and also feed directly into the Fanshawe job board. So it's worthwhile looking at these job boards to get that overall feel, but then using the Fanshawe job board to keep you up to date. The London Concierge from the LEDC website is really helpful. This is where you can find all of those things around schools, around places of worship, all of those other, and some networking groups and organizations. I saw from the last chat, you were looking from the last presentation, you were looking for groups to find. You can find them through the London Concierge. And then our business directory, which by the way, shows not only the company, but links to where it is in the city, is organized in those 5 key sectors. It will let you know about the company, a little bit, their website, but also where they're located. So you can see where they are in relationship to the great Fanshawe locations, whether it be in South London, downtown, or Oxford Street, or in surrounding communities. And just a reminder of some other quick resources on the next slide, please. Just to remind you that every year, in addition to Fanshawe's great job fairs, we have a community one called London and Area Works. The next one will be Tuesday, September the 21st from 2 to 7 p.m. Please put those in your calendars. Here's some quick additional resources to help you. Workforcedevelopment.ca is a community aggregator of opportunities. When I went on the board this morning, I saw that there were 4,700 job titles open in London. Please remember that a job title may have several jobs behind it. As well, there were over 300 part-time jobs. Also, by the way, that has a mapping function, so you can figure out where those locations of the jobs are. Nighthunter.com is also very useful. Immigration.london.ca is the City of London's immigration portal to help you also with information about London. And personally, the website that I find very helpful is called salaryexpert.com. This site allows you to see what is the relative purchasing power of any particular job in each community. This way you can compare the wage you might get in London with actually how much will you have after you've paid your rent and your food, etc. How much will you actually have to live and enjoy a quality of life? Of course, I wouldn't mention that to you if it didn't show London very, very favorably in comparison to a lot of other communities. So in closing, thank you for listening to some of these opportunities, giving you a quick overview of the City of London. Remember, it's a wonderful city to live, to learn, to work, to play. And we do urge you to start discovering more through ledc.com and those other websites, and by really using well your connections through Fanshawe's great career and entrepreneurial services. So thank you for letting me share this introduction. And now Sue is going to share with you how to actually operationalize this. Thank you.
Aren't you all so excited? Robert, thank you very much for sharing all of the fantastic opportunities with companies that we have here in London. My name is Sue Bennett, and I am a co-op consultant for primarily business programs, supply chain, logistics, operations, as well as business analysis and research and evaluation. Notwithstanding all of the co-op consultants that you will work with if you're in a co-op program are highly dedicated and really understand your industry. For those of you not in co-op programs, the information I'm going to share is also going to help you with your career path development and your job search. Robert just explained the myriad companies that we have that are expanding, based here, and providing opportunities in London. What I'm going to talk about are your workplace expectations. And Priyanka is going to advance those slides for me. My internet's a little sketchy, so we'll just rely on his assistance. With our team, We've got a big team, and you just saw in the previous slide our offices. When we're back on campus, you'll be able to come visit us. Right now, we're mostly working remotely, and we have excited, passionate colleagues to work together with you for all levels of employment preparation. Next slide, please. Getting a job in Canada is a completely different skill than keeping a job. There is a little bit of a relationship between the two, but I'm going to talk about what the employers expect once you're in the job role, and a few tips for getting that job as well. Go ahead. So what do employers expect? Let's see what they value. Go ahead. It's a really important focus for you to understand workplace culture. Go ahead. The culture is all about how you fit with their current team. Imagine they already have people working there who are productive, energetic, enthusiastic, knowledgeable, and it's how do you fit in and add value. So understanding their traditions, maybe their company history, their attitudes towards their approach to work, how they interact with each other. Many times you will be asked to collaborate and volunteer ideas and good concepts or areas of improvement, and you have to speak up. It's expected that you will always think of continuous improvement with a collaborative attitude, not a very know-it-all attitude. Rather, you come with a suggestion, and understanding business etiquette is part of that. It's good manners. It's knowing how to address people. You may work with people Robert's age and my age and address us by our first name, Sue or Robert, and that may seem very uncomfortable because you're used to using a more formal method of addressing senior people. Robert, we're not seniors, we're just in a different age group than most of the students. But it's important to even understand how to greet people in person, which may be different than how you greet them on paper. Next slide, please. When we're looking, therefore, at communication, I'll have you advance, Priyank. The communicating effectively means a lot more than just what you say. In Canada, we talk a lot about how we are as a person with our enthusiasm and our energy. There are also methods of expressing language non-verbally. That's called body language. Non-verbal communication can be with your eyes or your smile or the distance you are to someone. You will find in Canada, when we're back in person, that we have a very large, about 3-foot circle that we keep. It's invisible space, but you don't want it to come in too close when you're talking to us. The Latin countries, they all have a closer range, and that's something for you to be prepared for, that many of us in Canada have a bigger range. That is changing because we are very multiculturally diverse as well, so we're all adapting. But it's something to be aware of when you're talking with someone. Nodding up and down, demonstrating your comprehension, repeating back. That is a method of verbal, but you may be nodding, because finding clarity when someone's giving you instruction is much better than doing it wrong and having to redo. Employers expect you to be very polite with communication. Yes, please, may I, thank you very much. Do you have a moment? I have a question, can I book some time? Those are methods of showing respect, understanding everybody is busy. Everybody is busy. So asking for a moment and then waiting patiently to see whether, can they see you right now? Can they see you at break time? Would after work be a better time for everybody. Getting that acknowledgement is an opportunity for you to just demonstrate your understanding of business etiquette. Next slide, please. So being very reliable is an extremely high value. When you come to work in a Canadian workplace, even if it has management from another country, there's been adaptations, and being on time in Canada actually means be 10 to 15 minutes early. So being on time doesn't mean showing up just at the time that's designated. 10 minutes early is being on time here. With a positive attitude, with all the tools that you need, your pencil, your pen, your paper, your notebook, your equipment or hard hat, whatever you need. Because if you are on time, chances are that is going to blend into your reliability. The expectation is you are at work every single day early, that you are back from break early, and that if you are going to be absent, you give ample notice, as much as possible. If you have a dentist appointment in the first 3 months and it's just ordinary checkup, rebook it. If you have an urgent surgery, plan ahead. Not showing up because you can't get there for whatever reason, make alternative arrangements if possible, and definitely keep your boss in the loop. It's the communication that they expect. They want to be able to trust that you are there because they may have a special project that day and they're relying on you, and they want to know you're reliable. Next slide, please. Another Canadian workplace custom that's changing is how we dress. So I've got a couple of slides that show some of the dress you would use for interviews. Full suits used to be the norm for interviews, but now many interviews are virtual, and so we're just watching from the neck or the shoulders up. So that has become a little bit less of a focus. It's neat and tidy and clear. Next slide. More to the point on the job, you will find that business casual is much the norm. And this will be you observing when you go for your interview. If it's in person, observe. If you're not sure, ask, because you don't want to be overdressed, but you also want to make sure you have the appropriate footwear. Perhaps if you're in a plant but working in the office, they provide safety glasses and hairnets. Every workplace is different, so ask if you're not sure. Next slide, please. The other Canadian expectation that is highly valued is you demonstrating your motivation, your energy, your passion. You really bring a positive attitude, and Robert mentioned the global perspective you have. Never doubt the experience you have as a student, as a worker overseas. Doesn't count. It counts a lot. You've already got good troubleshooting, problem solving skills. You've probably developed good collaboration skills. Working on a team in Canada means bringing your energy and ideas, throwing them out there so people can discuss it. That may be different than what you've experienced. So observe, try, and watch how this works as you're in these workplace situations. The initiative is not something we can teach you. It's something you have to dive deep, find for yourself, and win the appreciation of your team by being conscientious of not talking too much, but also you're more respected if you contribute and volunteer and give it a try. So being proactive and open-minded is really important, and having that yearning, you can go ahead, yearn to learn. You want to have that good learning attitude, that you are asking good, curious questions. What opportunities are there for you? If you don't understand something, book some time with a senior team leader. Show that you're willing to adapt and implement those lessons you've just learned. Give it a try. Have a mentor. Ask for a mentor if you're struggling. The people that are willing to say, yes, I'm not strong here, can you help me, are the ones that succeed. Having that willingness to learn approach is highly, highly valued, because making mistakes and do it over is very expensive, time consuming, and can frustrate the rest of your team. So be willing to learn, willing to try. You may take longer, but if you are productive in the end, they will be willing to invest in you. Next slide, please. The Canadian workplace also has very, very tight and strong workplace safety values. We have students run through a certificate to gain knowledge of our health and safety. Number one priority is that you're safe. Then you can be reliable and contribute value. Every job has hazards, and you will learn about a material hazardous system that we have developed that alerts you to explosives or incendiaries or poisons or hazards, even in an office environment. They're there for a reason, because your safety is priority one for every company, and it's taken very, very seriously if there's an infraction. So learn what is the general, understand and comprehend what is specific to the workplace that you're in. Next slide, please. Working together and collaboration is a very, very key concept that employers expect, even if you're working by yourself on a 10-person production line, or working in a specific area of construction, doing an independent little project. You're always part of a larger team. And so those values of the team, if one's going for lunch or going on a break, everybody is. If you're going to get coffee, you would ask others, can I get one for you as well? It's just the small things that lead to everyone accomplishing the team goal, the company goal. Remember, companies are in business primarily for three reasons: to make a product that's valuable to a customer, to keep that customer very, very satisfied, and to generate a profit so they can continue in business. Of course, they're employing people and finding new product opportunities for their customers, but it still loops around to everybody in the company working to satisfy customers, generating that profit. And you can do that by eliminating waste of time or resources, collaborating to make everybody better together. That's what companies really, really appreciate. And it's through your energy, your curiosity, your questions, and your quick, ready adaptability that count. Next slide, please. Honesty and trustworthiness, again, go back to how you are in the workplace. Darlene mentioned off the top that there's a fraudulent employer out there. There are individuals who this is not a value for. But in Canada, you will be exposed to private information, company proprietary secrets of how they manufacture. They may have you sign a non-disclosure that even if you worked with the competition, you would not share that information. Confidentiality, privacy, those are all very, very highly valued and important, and it may be a case that you would sign a confidentiality agreement when you sign up to be an employee at that company. Also, we all have our own private phones now, so be very respectful to watch what you're saying, not gossiping. The social media, keeping that very private is also important. Next slide, please. representing the company. When you work for a company in Canada, you are the company, basically. You represent them. So that goes back a little bit to the social media. When people talk to you, they say, hi, how are you? Where are you from? What have you studied? Where do you work? Oh, that's a great company. Companies already have reputations. You already have a reputation. You want to make sure those reputations are protected by every means you can. Respect, confidentiality, privacy, our laws are tight around those factors. You're speaking positively about the company at every moment. And if you have an issue, you're either talking to the individual there's an issue with or your manager and figuring out a solution. You're coming with a solutions and a positive attitude because you are that company, and their respect in the marketplace is because every employee respects their goals, their mission, and their vision. Next slide, please. When we are working together in the company and are respecting each other, respecting that people show up as their own professional, the more you put this in, know that they have hired you because they already value your knowledge, your education. They value what you bring in terms of energy and passion. So they're giving you a shot. Now you need to earn and build your reputation within that company by following some of the tips we've shared here today. Next slide, please. Looking together at other workplace expectations is what we were sharing with you at the college. Again, when you're in person, it's easier to practice, but even your online attitude, professionalism will come through. If you are in a group online, you're going to be probably having group sessions online in the job. Even if we all go back to work, there still may be extra meetings. There is etiquette to online meetings. If someone is super quiet, be prepared to be, and that person is you, be prepared to be called on. Everybody is expected to contribute. And we really, really reinforce this right from your first day of college. We encourage you to engage, become a volunteer, ask those questions of your professors, practice showing up 10 minutes early. These are skills that you build on. Robert mentioned about the ledc.com website. Go look at that. Get excited about all of those fantastic world-renowned companies. Remember, you probably will work at a smaller company, but knowing where the potential is in the bigger career path is a good idea. You will likely have many different jobs when you graduate, so understanding where the opportunities lie can start today with your research. It's not something that just happens overnight. The research is you compiling an understanding and comprehension of opportunities within your field. Next slide, please. As we wind down this presentation, we know that you have a lot of questions about where are the jobs, how to be successful on the job, perhaps some questions around etiquette and manners and approaches. And now we've got a little bit of time for you to ask us those questions, and we'd be glad to answer.
Hi, Sue and Robert. Before we start the Q&A, I just want to mention to everyone, we will be happy to answer any and all the questions related to jobs in London, around the London, regarding the workplace expectation. If you have any questions related to program or tuition or like schedule for your program or anything else, SIN numbers, etc., you should attend International Welcome Session, which is happening on Friday. So please ask related question to this session, and yeah, we can go from here.
One of the questions that I get a lot for job hunting is what kind of approach should I have? Should I look on Indeed or should I look for my job through word of mouth? How should I approach these companies that I find on ledc.com? Again, getting the job is in a couple of the other workshops that you're going to provide, but following the tips we give you is my best advice. Already learning Canadian workplace expectations are extended into the college, and if we make a suggestion, it's because it's tried and true. So really incorporating that into your resume, your cover letter, the ways you answer interview questions will really assist you. I see a question here. Priyanka, are you going to field some of those, or I see can I get a job without work experience? Absolutely. Sorry, Priyanka, you were going to say?
Yes, I was going to say you or Robert can take a look at the chat and then take questions that you like.
Okay. Many students come to Career Services for advice early on for the resume and the cover letter to find that part-time job while they're going to school as a student. International students can work up to 20 hours while going to school on the student permit. And I defer always to the International Center if you have any kind of permit questions to make sure that you're legal to work. But having the right tools to find that part-time job are important. It's a resume, a cover letter, and some interview skills. So the Career Services can definitely help you with that. Where are the students mostly placed for co-op and supply chain? You saw the list that Robert presented. All of those are companies that I have worked with. The business students work with any kind of business in the London and surrounding area, even as all over Ontario. Because as Robert mentioned, even if it's a manufacturing company, there are the finance and the payroll and the human resources departments. Supply chain, you can work in fast food or inventory management, grocery stores, warehouses, hardware stores. There's all kinds of places for supply chain students. Robert, do you see any questions there?
Yes, yeah, well, I was just going to add to that. One of the challenges sometimes is to actually dig into what is the skill set behind a job title. So if you see warehouse coordinator, that is often a supply chain. Your skills and experience from the supply chain program are very useful to that job title. So the important thing for you very early on is to start looking at different job titles and then looking at the skill set behind them and then how your program may fit. Now I see a lot of questions around part-time work in terms of software and other kinds of skill sets. Yes, companies are hiring part-time workers in those areas. But here's the interesting thing, I think, is sometimes I know that many of you have are using cutting-edge software from around the world that's internationally recognized. In fact, some of it's even more advanced than what we're using here. It's important that you really look and be able to explain what those skills are that you're bringing from your home country and how it actually fits on a world stage. Because that then, it's being able to articulate that to an employer that is critically important. As I mentioned earlier on, I saw that there was over 330 part-time job titles currently open through the local jobs hub website that I mentioned. So I saw that there are a range of part-time jobs, and yet again, there's that mapping function, so you can see where they are located and looking at them, how far they are away from the college or where you're currently living.
Yeah.
Also, we'll share this, and I haven't told Darlene or Sue this yet, but I will. I'll let a little bit of the bag out, the cat out of the bag. is that we actually have a couple of employers that will be recruiting actively in June that are pretty close to the Oxford Street main campus location and will be interested in part-time work. So that is coming soon, but I can't tell you the name yet. But you probably, if you were to look around the world, you could understand what London doesn't have and will be having very soon. So just to share that with you. It's coming soon.
I bet you we'll have lots of students that'll be super excited about that opportunity.
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing or foreshadowing, Robert.
I see a question here about facial hair, long hair, neat and tidy. That's what we are very accepting. We do have very strong discrimination laws around, I think there's 20 items, race, religion, and the list is very, very long, but the actual way that you dress is neat and tidy. So tie your long hair back if you're going to be working with equipment, but if you're in an office, then again, use those powers of observation, check websites, see how people are, perhaps through LinkedIn. Figuring out what to say before an interview is an entire workshop. We have some great tools on the careers section, even online, that you can go through. And as well, in May, there are some early career workshops coming up. So check the career job board for links to events coming up, because you can get some great training in addition to what you're going to be learning with Fanshawe Works.
I think the questions around operations management. And if you think about when I mentioned all of those different plants, both manufacturing and agri-food or food processing, all of those have a need for operation management roles. And when you think about sort of just the size and the scope of those, we're seeing a lot more opportunities being created over the next 18 months to 3 years in each of those areas, partly from retirement, partly from expansion.
Excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just had a quick question. If we are not enrolled in a co-op course, then how can we seek guidance from co-op consultants like you? If you could help me with that.
Yeah, great question. So career services for any student not in co-op has exactly the same curriculum. And those career workshops are available every single month. Rock your LinkedIn profile, how to ace an interview, resume reboot. Those workshops run every month through our careers section. Just log on to your job site and you will see a whole list. There's even a little tool bag of job search tools to get you ready for employment. You could click through even before you attend the workshop. Every program has a dedicated career consultant. The co-op programs have dedicated co-op consultants. We're all the same team and we all have access to exactly the same information for you.
And I'd like to add just how critically important that is, to really get some good advice and good work before you start applying. And let me share why. Some of the different companies have software that tracks people who've applied. Well, if they've already spent the time to review your application and it wasn't very good, then it may kick you out, even though you've now got a better one ready now. So please take good care to take some of these workshops to get ready so that you're putting your best foot forward in terms of your application so that you don't limit opportunities.
You will see in the chat, Maya, Gina has just posted the whole current list for May for you. So download that and take a snap of it so that you know when those workshops that suit you are coming. We really work hard to get you this information early and repeat it to you because there's so much for you to learn. It's quite different and it only is accumulated through practice. You'll do many resumes, you'll have many, many job interviews, and you'll just keep practicing these job search skills. They are skills and they take time to learn and practice.
I saw an interesting question in the chat here. Can international students join Leap Junction?
Oh, absolutely. Leap Junction is an entrepreneurial program that is offered to students who really want to start their own business. It brings a group of students on and works with them very much one-on-one, but also in a group setting, because there's basic business skills everyone needs when starting and running a business, but then consults with you individually. So if you are interested in that as an opportunity, talk to the career consultant or co-op consultant, because it can be part of both streams.
And just to mention that people who've come from overseas are some of the most successful entrepreneurs in London. If you look at a company called Paystone, which is a financial services hub, that person came from Palestine. If you look at Connexio, which Darlene knows well, the founder there came from Germany. So there's lots of different opportunities being created by people who are new to the country. If you think about it, immigration is an entrepreneurial act. In other words, you've moved from the comfort of your own previous surroundings into a new environment. You're prepared to risk a little bit. You're a good learner, and you're a problem solver. All of the kinds of skills that an entrepreneur needs to bring to their enterprise.
Okay, I'm just looking to see if we've missed any questions. I'm mindful of the time. Someone else had their hand up, but we missed pulling that. I do encourage you to get involved early. That is our best advice. Explore ledc.com backwards and forwards, up and down. Really get to know the companies that intrigue you. You'll start to see a formula that they do have their mission, they do have their vision. Track back to LinkedIn, look at what they're posting there. LinkedIn being sort of the Facebook for business opportunities and professional workers in those companies. The research piece will help you and guide you with your career path as you explore the Canadian workplace. We're so excited to have you join Fanshawe. Any other questions that we can address immediately? Or Darlene, I see you popped up.
No questions from me. I'm just super excited that you guys shared so much amazing information. Really, really well done. I just wanted to remind all the students that the employer panel after this is very exciting, and some of the companies that Robert highlighted today are actually joining us for the employer panel. So make sure you have lots of note paper and take lots of notes, and they'll give you some really great advice. And Robert and Sue gave you great information to prepare yourselves for the labor market here in London, Ontario.
Hi there. I wanted to ask a question.
Yes.
Yes, I have done my master's in English, and then now I have opted for a business management course. And after I did my master's, I had experience in teaching college students as well as school students. But as I have opted for a completely different kind of course now, I wanted to ask, what scope would I have in the business?
Well, what
Yes.
things that people underestimate when they're coming from overseas and have a broad education is something called transferable skills. Those are the skills that every job has in common: communication, organization, critical thinking, collaboration, problem solving, as well as technical skills that you would have developed in your previous program and now will be learning and implementing from business. Business offers students an opportunity to really expand on their level of professionalism, some of those strong math and marketing skills that will draw on communication, organization, collaboration. So you are going to learn a vast and deep amount of knowledge that will help you answer that question as you progress, for sure.
And to add to that,
yes.
Effective business writing.
Yes.
If you think about everything from websites to insurance policies to marketing and advertising, having that strong sense of language, being able to relate language to different grade levels or educational achievement levels is critically important for businesses to be able to communicate effectively, not only internally with their employees, but also with their customers. So in fact, it's a valued commodity. I know Canada Life, in fact, has a whole group of business writers who are constantly reviewing and revising all of their different materials to make sure that they're relevant to the particular audiences they're trying to reach. So that's where you can take a strong foundation in one skill set and apply it to another to another business opportunity.
All right, I think Sue and Robert, we are almost at the end of the session. If you wanted to say something as the last words, final, yeah.
There are still a few questions about part-time work and as it relates to your profession. If you can gather part-time work in your profession, wonderful. There are many companies who love to have students working remotely right now on a very part-time basis because you have the leading information and knowledge. And it's a matter of reaching out to some companies that attract you. They don't always post these opportunities. And that's another discussion about the hidden job market. So networking with people on LinkedIn is one way to capture those, as well as staying on the sites Robert mentioned with ledc.com.
And just, Priyanka, I look forward to seeing everybody working in London very soon. And to follow the great advice, which is to really get started with those programs at Fanshawe now. Start doing your research, make your list of the key companies which really intrigue you, to follow them, and to keep track of your following them, of the trends and so on. So you actually organize your materials and who you've connected with over time, and it's better to work well with a smaller number of companies, making sure they're not just the big ones, but also those small and medium. And then I'm sure you will have success. So look forward to seeing you succeed in London. And thank you for having the opportunity to share just a little bit about London.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Sue and Robert, for such an insightful session and having our students understand a lot of things about London and the job market within London itself. Again, I really like to thank more than 200 plus of you. I'm sure there are many of you who are attending this at late at night. So we really appreciate you being here. And again, we have tried to convey all the important information that you need to start working or for the job search, or also for like your resume, for cover letter, how to find a job in a virtual environment. But all this boils down to finally getting a job with an employer. And that's the session we are hosting next, which is an employer panel. And as Darlene already mentioned, some of the employers who are going to be here with us are going to be a huge companies in London, such as StarTech, Scotiabank, Blue Mountain, and lots of other exciting people who are joining us. So we do really appreciate it. And I wanted to mention that is going to be happening on a different Zoom environment. So it will be happening on a Zoom webinar. You must have received an email this morning with the link to join at a different place that starts from 11:10. I'm going to copy and paste the same link to join in the chat here. So copy the link from the chat and join us within next 5 to 7 minutes for an employer panel, where you will get a chance to hear from the actual employer in London, around the London, in Ontario, and then you will also get a chance to ask questions related to job. And because there are many variants of industries where employers are coming from, there is a banking sector, there is a IT sector, software company, and hospitality company. So you will get a chance to ask different kind of questions directly to an employer. So looking forward to see you there in next 7 minutes or so. Again, I have copy and pasted the link in the chat. Once again, thank you everyone, and see you on the other side on Zoom webinar for the employer panel.